This video is called Consciousness and the Emotional Ladder, how to move through the emotional ladder as it's listed here. And you can find different ones online. This one I found I really like because it talks about 3D, 4D, 5D. I feel we are multi-dimensional souls here having a human experience, and we are to move up and down the dimensions, not necessarily to try and escape any. That we are to learn how to process our emotions, especially the lower ones that are in the lower chakras. And those are usually ones that people have a harder time with, or there are more things hiding. And if you look at the chart here, you can see that the colors are corresponding with the chakras somewhat. And the bottom ones there, red, can definitely connect to the base chakra. So the first one is shame. And on the scale for consciousness, the shame is at a frequency of 20. And then guilt is 30. Apathy is 50. Grief is 75. Fear is 100. Desire is 125. Anger is 150. So even if you're angry about something, you're at a higher frequency than shame. Not bypassing any emotions, but just having a look to see where are you, why do you feel that way, and see if you can move up one emotion up to a bit of a higher frequency. Courage is at 200, neutrality 250, willingness at 310, acceptance 350, reason is at 400, love is 500, joy 540, peace 600, and then enlightenment 700 to 1,000. And that is the scale of consciousness from John Hopkins. Okay, so back to the one on the screen here, this chart. The lower chakra, or sorry, the lower emotion that's named here is shame. And then next is guilt and judgment, then hopelessness, grief, fear, desire, anger, and pride. I'm going to talk about these just for the first part here. And these are considered 3D emotions, or the third dimension. And really it's all about, the internal game and how you process what has happened to you, or how you view yourself, or view a situation that has come up. And I always start with clearing shame in the body. So even for yourself, as you're listening to this, you can think about, where do you hold shame in the body? Is it in your belly area, your throat, your heart? There's, it's different for everybody. So the first thing is, can you name where you hold on to that emotion in the body? Because then you know how to move it, or then you know when you're in a situation at work or at home and you feel that emotion ride, or that wave of electricity through your body in that area, you get to process what is happening in your environment. And more than likely, what is happening is a trigger, or wanting to show you how to up level an old belief about yourself from an earlier time. So if you have someone, like, let's say you're being bullied at work, or you're being pushed into doing something that you don't want to do, and you're feeling that uncomfortable feeling in your body, then more than likely that it's happened in the past. And it's just another example of showing you, like, are you more aware? Can you say no? Can you, have your boundaries or agreements that are in alignment with what feels good for you, and moving you closer to being able to stand up for yourself and to share the things that are important to you without a fear of abandonment, or fear of rejection, or a fear of criticism. It's being able to name the emotion in the moment so that the brain knows what to do with it. Because if you just say, I'm stressed or I'm overwhelmed, okay, that is true in that moment for sure, but the brain doesn't know what to do with it. If you're able to say, I'm feeling grief right now, or I feel shame, or I feel judgment, then the body or the brain is able to move through whatever it is that you're experiencing. And just being able to move up or down the emotions. And if you can, naming what is going on, why, what is it they're showing you. I like the phrases, this is happening for me on some level, so I can take a step back and look at it as the observer or the witness to say, okay, why is this happening? Why is this in my field? Or why am I a match to what is going on right now? This is here to show me something. Then your brain goes into detective mode, more so of helplessness or victim or feeling of this is too hard. The brain actually is looking for the solution, and you'll be in conflict less time if you're able to name these emotions and how to walk yourself out of them. Okay, so in the lower ones here, shame, guilt, judgment, hopelessness, if you want to just feel into, where it is in your body, and then for how to move the emotion, I think this is important to know, is, to process where is it, or hold your hand on your belly or the area that you do feel. I'm going to use shame in this example, where you're holding shame, and just send love from your hand into that body part. It's the energy is flowing from your heart. So you could send love from your heart down your arm, through your hand, into the body part. And you could do that for others. That's what energy work is basically, is it's sending positive love energy through your body or through your mind and your intention. And you can heal what is going on in your body yourself. Okay, so that you're not dependent on anyone else, but it is this awareness. It is this knowing what is your body language and how to read the body, and then how to move the emotions through as needed, depending on what is going on or what the situation is. Okay, so with shame then, you take 3 deep breaths, and as you breathe in, you can breathe in, confidence or clarity or peace, and then breathe out shame. So it's and or sound. Right? And letting that out. If you're having a sore throat as you're breathing out with sound, then you're going a little bit too low. Try to be more up in your face or in your mouth as opposed to in your throat, and you'll have a nicer time with it. But it's learning how to move and express that energy yourself. If you're feeling the shame and it's overwhelming, or you're wanting to move the energy so it doesn't stay in your body or get stuck or is stagnant, you can shake your hands, you can shake your body, you can do a little impromptu dance party. A lot of what we go through, or being able to move through emotions, is an awareness of how you feel. And then you get to decide, do I want to hold this emotion? So let's say shame. Do I want to continue holding shame around this? No. No, I've processed this so many times and I am ready to let this go and to move on to, maybe judgment or guilt or hopelessness, right? You can move up the ladder. Maybe it is desire for things to be better, right? If you think of polarity, hot, cold, up, down, courage, fear, you get to hold the polarity of the emotion that you're holding. So even with shame, most people with shame, it's from a victim kind of place of I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough, or I notice this when people are talking is, sorry for taking up too much of your time. Really? Like, you don't need to say that, right? You're sharing or you're talking because you feel that it's adding value to the conversation, or that I need to hear what it is that you're sharing. So as soon as someone says, I won't take up too much of your time, or they're apologizing for, my attention or whatever it is, I already know that there's a feeling of low self-worth there, or a feeling of shame, maybe from the past, where they don't feel worthy enough to take up space, right? Or if you've been told you're too loud, you're too much, or whatever other messages, clear those, right? That's some shame-based information there too, is like, clear it out of your body. You can imagine it flowing out your feet or out your head, or you can shake your hands to say, you know what, I let this go, and just clear, cancel, delete. This is working in the quantum, as you get to choose and decide what you want to hold on to and what you're letting go of. Okay, so that you can move those emotions as they come up. They're not wrong. All parts of you are welcome at the table, including shame and the bigger emotions, but it's what do you do with it, or how long do you stay in that feeling? Okay, I can feel bad about something, definitely. But if I pull myself down with, I'm a loser, or I can't figure this thing out, or, I'm hurting whatever it is that you're holding on to as an old story or a belief about yourself that's not going to help you move forward, then look at why you're believing that about yourself, where the root is. Where did it come from? Were you talked down to as a child? Were you bullied as a child? Right? It's picking up the beliefs from our childhood. Church is another one, right? Being born a sinner. I don't agree with that anymore. We are born worthy. Think of a baby. A baby is perfect and born worthy and beautiful. So to put a marker on it saying you're born a sinner, no, actually, when you look at the old language of what the word sinner means, it means to be deficient. Deficient in your minerals, your cell salts, because we're in our mother's womb 9 of the 12 months, and so we're missing some of our cell salts. That's where that core root comes from. Not that, you have this mark on you as soon as you're born. So let go and detach from any old fear programming that doesn't resonate with you anymore. You get to decide, right, of what feels good to you and what you're holding on to and how to move through the emotions. We just want to keep in mind not to do harm. So, do no harm and always act in your highest best for yourself, including the integrity of the words that you say, right? And being sure that you are in integrity, that you are honest, that you are truthful, so that you don't have to clear out any more shame or any more of the, judging yourself or feeling, low about something that you've been doing or thinking about. It's okay. Honor it, recognize it, witness it, and then clear it out if you're not wanting to hold the frequency of that anymore and move up to something that feels better. Okay, and then have a look at shame. Shame is held a lot unconsciously in the body. What about, your body image? Are you holding any shame for that? Okay, why? And where did that come from? What about, sexually or in the bedroom? Are you holding any shame from that? Why? Where did the root come from? And clear it, right? A lot is just reframing what you believe or believing or choosing, maybe choosing is the better word here, to believe in something that is lighter or something that's going to feel like it can move yourself forward. We have been taught to look outside for validation, whether it's for love, food, money, sex, all of the things. And now we are learning how to go within and seek that validation from within, not seeking it from without. So if you're asking someone, for their opinion all the time because you can't trust yourself or you're not able to make a decision, then ask yourself, why? Where did the root come from? Right? And then agree or make a choice or a decision to say, you know what, I'm going to learn how to trust myself, or I'm going to start making decisions. And if I mess up or, I make a choice and a decision that I don't like after the fact, then I can change it. I can repair. I can go back and fix it if I want to. But moving forward in a space of, no, this is what I want to do, or this is how I'm going to move forward for myself. Right? You seek the validation from within, not from other people. And we're learning how to speak our truth, how to ask for what we want instead of doing it in manipulative kind of ways or things or ways that look nice, but really you're trying to have a need met instead of saying, you know what, I would like connection. Do you mind? Can I have a hug? Right? Instead of, hey, would you like a hug? Implying that they need the hug when really it's you that wants the hug. So it's just our language is going to change a little bit. Or if you're offering to give someone a massage, right? Is it that you want to give massage because you want to give to them and you want to help them to feel relaxed and all of that? Or are you taking connection where actually you want the massage or give it to them because it's a form of touch and a way of being connected to your loved one? But really the core root is you want connection. So then the language could be, hey, I'm feeling like I'd like some connection with you. Would you like to cuddle? Or, could I give you a massage? But you're honoring yourself and you're asking for your need first and in the moment. This is how you practice asking for the things that you want. Okay, as we're all learning how to change our language and to communicate from a place of worthiness, not from a place of shame or feeling unworthy, wherever the messages may have come from. Okay, so next would be guilt I want to talk about. Guilt and judgment is the next line. And with guilt, What can happen here is the word guilt really is a feeling of having done something wrong. Okay, so maybe you feel guilty. What you would say is you feel guilt about something. Like, let's say you don't feel like a good enough partner or a good enough parent or a good enough son or daughter. Okay, and so you're going to carry some guilt with that, but you have to look at it. Did you do something wrong? And if the answer is no, then it's not necessarily the word guilt. Maybe it's you feel sad, or it's one of the stages of grief that you're feeling. And so it's looking at the true emotion that you're feeling. Plus, the church has heaped on a lot of guilt, right? If you don't do this, then you're wrong or you're bad. So let's break up with that whole good girl, good boy programming to what is truthful and honest and honoring for you in every moment. And so, with that word guilt, let anything go. If you have anything in your shoulders, this is the German New Medicine connection to guilt is in the shoulder. It's the root word of shoulder in German means guilt. And so depending on what side of the body your shoulder is hurting, we can tell a little bit more of the story of what are you holding on to, whose emotions, or maybe you're holding on to what you think or wish you could do for someone else and you're not able to. I would say clear it, let it go. You are only supposed to look after you. You stay in your lane and let everyone else who's on their own soul journey to worry about themselves or look after themselves, right? We can't fix anybody. And so it's coming from a place of what are you holding on to that you can let go of or release from your body so that you are not holding it or the energy or the emotions, especially if you're a highly sensitive person or an empath, right? You can feel bad for someone that maybe they're having a tough time or, things aren't going their way, but be careful not to take on their stuff. You don't need to hold anyone else's emotions, including your parents and including your children if you have them. You can't mess up your children. They chose you. They chose you exactly as you are. And together as a soul family, you're learning how to break old dysfunctional patterns and to move forward towards conscious, unconditional acceptance ways of communicating with each other. Okay, so just something to keep in mind next time you feel guilt or you say, I feel, I'm guilty. Again, guilty is doing something wrong. But so if you say, I have guilt about this, probably it's a different word. Okay, next is judgment. And I really want to talk about this word because I realized growing up Jehovah's Witness how much we were taught to judge other people who were not like us. If you were not part of the Jehovah's Witness organization, then you were basically going to die once Armageddon came. And you were worldly. You were not of the truth. All of this insidious language of we're right and you're wrong. Okay. And so I really had to look at deprogramming that kind of judgment and how I viewed the world and viewed others, that if they weren't like me, then they were less than somehow, or I didn't want to be near them. Okay, you don't have to hang out with everybody, but in what way are you looking at others, right? Their lifestyle or what they choose or what is for them is for them. It's not any of our business, right? And so just be very mindful of what or who you are judging and where does that root come from. A lot of this is just looking at where did this root come from, right? Stay curious, stay playful, stay fun with where it came from, because really you're just up leveling. I think of it like a video game, right? You are solving this level of the video game. And how do you slay the dragon or overcome the obstacle to collect the gold coin, right? And so it's just looking at things from a different perspective. Or, maybe you're judging yourself in one area. Why? First of all, always want to know where that root come from. But what if we turn the table and we give it another perspective? Maybe what you're to learn out of this is that you have a high level of discernment, or you know how to read a room, or, be aware of the emotions or the needs of others to be able to help if that's what you're called to do. Right? It's that polarity again. There's always going to be two different kinds of sides or ways of looking at something that maybe it's lighter from the other perspective. So you can let yourself off the hook or give it a new, fresh update on what you're thinking or viewing about a situation so that you can come back into inner peace or calm or contentment, which would be an ideal goal. We don't want to be high vibe or low vibe. I don't agree with that either. Low vibe can be very good, actually, especially, low vibing bass music is so healing for the lower chakras. But you're just moving through an emotion. Like, let it just be, right? Not putting a story on it. If I can say, I feel shame the same way I can say the sky is blue, it's okay to feel that and to honor, why or where that came from, but to not necessarily make myself wrong where I feel even lower about myself, right? Where it puts me in a lower frequency. And then all those racing thoughts of not being good enough or, all of the negativity that our brain will easily default to. It's learning how to deprogram from that and also look for ways where things are working out. Okay, this didn't go the way that I wanted it to, but what I did learn from it was this and this, right? You're able to pull the golden nuggets out from whatever the situation is as much as possible. So again, just be mindful of judgment, and you don't want to judge others. They are choosing to do what they're doing for their own reason or their own soul growth. It's not our business. Stay in your lane. Next is hopelessness, and this definitely would be a part of the, a grief, the 6 stages of grief. And so in that space of hopelessness, maybe that's where you need to hold. Maybe it's a place where you are dissociating and you just need a break. You've been going at something that's really hard or trying to figure it out. And the body's like, okay, we need a timeout. So we're just going to feel hopeless about the situation. But then, hopefully in a short period of time, you can look at, all right, yes, it is okay to feel hopeless, but also what is one emotion that I could, step into that's going to feel a little bit lighter? Maybe it's grief and you're processing deep sadness, like deep sadness, where you're like, I don't know how this can be fixed. I would say that all in all, our needs are always met on some level. And so it's just looking at it from a place of why are you here? What is your message? And then once you learn the message, hopefully you can move into an emotion on the ladder here that feels better. Grief, definitely going through the 6 stages and knowing, it's shock and then this hopelessness or a feeling of despair, right? Maybe forgiveness, if that's part of it. I think we move up and down through the emotions here, but a feeling of when things start to turn around and you feel hopeful all of a sudden, and then now you're expanding or seeing what else is out there, curious, to grow. And just being in that space. I'll pop a little graphic on the 6 stages of grief below. So I think that's important to know where you are and how to move through them. Okay, next is fear. And fear, it comes in all different ways. Fear really of your situation and are your needs going to be met? And, why is this happening to me? Or a deep-seated fear of you feel really afraid. And it's okay to feel afraid, but the body probably is tripped into an old pattern of where little you did not feel safe. So you have bigger tools now. Right now you're learning about emotions. So even just listening to this video, you can truthfully say, I'm learning new tools. I have new tools that regardless of what happens, I can be at a place where I can look at, the 2 different perspectives. Holding fear, I would rather courage. So how do I get there? And what are some steps I could do? I could tell myself where I'm being supported or where things are going well, or, have some fun or playfulness and not take myself so seriously. Maybe go dancing or watching a comedy or something where I can change the energy or the thought process of what I'm in that moment. But keep in mind, any emotion that's coming up is asking to be looked at. Maybe there is a new way of coping or a new way of looking at a situation that is ready to be revealed, and it's inviting you, isn't that delicious? It's inviting you to look at it from a different angle or to move into a new emotion like desire. That's the next one up. right? A desire. And it can be, desire can have, there's two meanings here, definitely with the polarity. You could be in a desire in the lower chakras where it's lust and there's an addiction, it's a hunger. You're looking for a way to satisfy an insatiable feeling that maybe you're not proud of, and it's going to put you back in a shame loop. Okay, so desire can also be what you want, what you're looking forward to, something that's going to feel light or lifted, or in where you'll enjoy that in your life on some level. So it all depends on your perspective, what you're feeling, what's going on, and the past and what has happened before. Anger. Anger is a really good one because it's moving you out of those low emotions, right? It's actually, anger is fire. I have goosebumps all over my body right now because with anger, we've been taught, oh, don't yell like that or don't have such a big emotion. But really, that anger is where changes are made, right? Something happens, frustration, anger, a new change is coming, or a new change is needed. And then the brain gets that, those ideas rolling on how to fix it because you don't want to feel this anger anymore. And I would say just, with the other emotions, but especially with this one, where in your body do you feel anger? Right? For me, it depends. Sometimes I feel it from my knees when I feel that I'm being blamed for something that's not my fault. And I'm, kind of like the fall guy, or they're projecting on me. I feel it from my knees all the way up into my torso. There's times when I feel anger like in my gut area. There's times when I feel it in my chest or my face, and my face starts to turn red, and that's rage for me. When I feel that, it's like, this is not fair. Let's grow up, where's some emotional resiliency or some skills here that we can look at this as adults and process what's going on instead of shaming or blaming. We don't want to play the shame game. Right? Well, you never do this. Oh, yeah. Well, you never do this. And you just play the shame game back and forth with judging. But what happens with blame, and I like the etymology of words. So with blame is to be lame. You don't want to blame someone else. Why are you a match to it? Looking at owning your own stuff, there's something in your field that this is wanting to show you. And so before you blame someone else, take a look at it and say, okay, why is this here? What is it here to show me? Okay, just as a way to help with that. If you're used to human design language, manifestors know anger and peace. Manifesting generators, anger and frustration and satisfaction. Okay, I'll go through the other ones. Someone who's a generator is frustration and satisfaction. A projector like myself is bitterness and success. And reflectors, 1% of the population, are excitement and disappointment. Okay, so those are the main emotions for everybody. And so even if you have, let's say you have a kiddo and they just get right angry a lot, more than likely they're a manifestor and they're here to initiate us into new ways of doing things. And so the anger is to tick them off enough that they say something, right? And peace is their other one. So you could have even someone with a hot and cold kind of personality. A lot of it necessarily, I don't want to say isn't their fault, but it's just an awareness of the kinds of emotions you have running in your body. For me, success and bitterness. If something doesn't feel worth it for me, then I am bitter. And I'm working on, observing, why do I feel bitter? Usually it's a shame. There's some kind of a shame element for me, or not feeling good enough. And so then I get to look at it and clear in that moment and not judge someone else because I feel bitter, right? That's my own work that I've been moving through and just observing. Okay, so that's all I have to say about anger. When anger happens, I feel, this is just me personally, is that the moments or a few 1 or 2 seconds before you had that anger outburst is there was an element of threat to your ego, or you felt shame on some level, or not good enough, some kind of unworthiness piece. So think back to the last time that you were angry and look at what was going on. Was there an element where you felt a shame piece? Or that you were not worthy, or the person was, degrading their view of you, or the way that they were looking at a situation and blaming you in a sense. And then that anger came next. So I think for a lot of people, sometimes anger is a secondary emotion. So just something to be aware of in your body and, what is happening. This is going to help us to be actually truthful and honest with what's happened, and being able to repair. It's such a good word, right? Hey, I'm sorry that I freaked out and I yelled the way that I did earlier. I was caught off guard, and I'm not making excuses. I'm just letting you know my thought process or what was going on with me in that moment. But as I've had some time to think about it, I actually feel that my ego was threatened, and that's where that anger came from. So this is actually how I feel about it, or what I would like to say, right? After you have thought about it, and then make sure you collect the gold coin. Okay, so in the stop, drop, and roll, in case you haven't heard that from me. So when you're triggered, you stop, you take a breath so that you can keep your prefrontal cortex open, your thinking brain. And then you're going to drop into your heart, your emotions, your instinct, and you're going to respond from your body, from your heart area. Okay, instead of reacting. And then roll is you're on a surfboard. And you can either process the emotion in the moment or see where the trigger is, or how to trip up your own patterns. This is why knowing your patterns is really important. So if I feel like I'm being criticized, I can maybe not say anything and just observe what's going on, because it's to show me something. And then maybe I say, you know what, thank you, or let me get back to you, instead of having a very short, hurtful kind of response, which probably would maybe be the case. And if I catch my pattern, or I answer differently, or I, respond in a way that I feel better about than maybe old patterns, then I collect a gold coin so that I'm giving myself that dopamine hit in the body. Okay. And then if you fall off the surfboard, where you just you just totally mess up or freak out, or have you start crying, which crying is okay. Crying is actually really healing. It's releasing the extra water edema out of your body. But there's sometimes we respond and we don't feel good about it, or we wish we had done it differently. Now maybe we're embarrassed, whatever it is. Then when you come to awareness of, oh yeah, that's why I responded that way, or that was my old pattern, collect a gold coin. Or if you said something that was really hard, like asking for help for a lot of people, or you were able to be vulnerable in a safe, maybe even composed way, you collect a big, huge bucket of gold coins if you need to. Okay, it's just really the awareness of how are you moving through the emotions and being able to express yourself or ask for what you want or need in the moment. Maybe it's even just a hug. Hey, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Do you mind if we hug? I would like to self-regulate. Do you have the capacity to hold that space for me? Right? Always asking permission of the other person. Or you come home from work and you're just hopping mad. Don't come in the house and just dump on the people that are there, right? Just let them know, hey, I'm in a bit of a state. Something happened today at work that I'm just still processing and I'm fuming. So either I'm going to go for a walk, or if you have the capacity, do you think you could just listen to the story? Don't need to fix it. I just need to share what happened, right? It's just like, letting the fuse out in a sense. And asking permission is really helpful, because then you're going to get less kickback or less, pushback of people saying, whoa, 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 like, why are you doing that, right? Asking permission is really helpful. The next emotion here is pride, and we've moved out of the sacral, which is the orange color, and now yellow is the identity, the solar plexus. And so with anger and pride, again, more than likely is that it is a threat to the ego, right? Who told you the story you believe about yourself? If it's a lower kind of feeling of not being good or worthy enough, well, who told you that story? Go back and reframe, or just say, you know what? I'm not agreeing with that, or I'm not believing that anymore, and choose to believe the thing that you want to believe as far as your identity or who you are, having that inner dignity for yourself. Okay, so those are the 3D emotions, third dimension, and you can see here that this is a force. It can be destructive, right? And being able to be in a space where you are looking at what is happening to you from an objective place, being able to see what is happening and saying, okay, this is here to show me something, and taking a moment to yourself before you respond or react, so that you can just feel more stable and secure with how you are expressing yourself or how you are talking to someone in the situation. Okay, so moving up now to the fourth dimensional emotion. So it's courage, neutrality, willingness. This is coming into the heart chakra. Acceptance, that's in the throat chakra there. And, again, just a feeling of when you are in a heated kind of emotion or even a low one, can you move to a space where you feel contentment or neutrality, willing to look at the other side or willing to look at or willing to rest? And just being in a space of contentment. That's the one that really comes in, right? Satisfaction. What is going on in my situation or in my world? Can I move to a place of satisfaction? And then the power emotions, or 5D, would be love, joy, freedom, and enlightenment. If we can all be at a place of joy or even love or acceptance is a really good one, then that is at a higher vibration of 500. Most of humanity is at 200 or lower. So most people, like 200 is courage, pride, anger as we go down, is where most people are. So can you be at a place of, loving yourself unconditionally, accepting yourself unconditionally? I find the word acceptance is easier than love sometimes, especially if you've been hurt in the past or someone says, I love you, and inside you're like, yeah, right, because you've had scenarios or situations that didn't feel good in the past. Then I like the word acceptance or trust, right? Can you trust yourself? Can you look in the mirror and say the word trust? Or I accept. We're learning how to look at the vulnerability or the inner parts of ourselves into me, see. And when you're able to look in a mirror and even say the word trust, have a look. This is a little bit of an exercise if you like it. Look in the mirror next time when you're brushing your teeth and you're combing your hair. Don't just, go through the motions, but actually look at yourself. And if you want to have fun with it, put on your favorite music and dance and be silly in the mirror and like wink at yourself and shimmy and shake or whatever it is you want to do. Even better if you can do it naked, and really just connect with yourself. You are your wingman. You are the one that you're looking for, your best friend, right? This is all about being, in love with yourself or accepting yourself fully. And if you have body image issues or you're not happy with your weight, then you're perfect exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And then you just got to figure out, okay, I'm not really loving this part. What can I do to get back to a space where I love my body or I'm appreciating, all my parts? And it just allows yourself to connect with yourself on a deeper level. And then when you're looking in the mirror and you're saying the word trust, if you really look in at your eye, you'll eventually see the universe. Okay, or your face will change. If you're looking at someone else too with eye gazing, as you'll notice, if you could do this with a loved one, hold, the gaze looking in the left eye and see how their face is going to change. See if you can see the universe in the eye. It's actually a really cool way to connect deeper with other people and with yourself when you're doing that in the mirror. Okay, but then as you're in the washroom or getting ready and that kind of thing, now you're actually connecting with yourself. You're being present instead of, doing the stuff to hurry and get out of the bathroom. So actually take your time and be there and be present with yourself. Connect, feel the feelings that are coming in, right? And just being able to share that kind of moment with yourself. You're learning how to read your own body and reading your own body language. Well, if you don't even know how to look yourself in the eye, or when you're brushing your teeth, you can't be fun or smile at yourself, then you are really going to be disconnected from yourself and who you are. Another really neat exercise to change the neural synaptic connections in your brain as you're rewiring new ways of being is to use your opposite hand when you brush your teeth. So if you brush your teeth with the right hand, try using it with the left for a full week. You're actually going to change the neural synaptic connections. You're going to break up with old patterns that don't feel so good because your body and your brain is like, oh, we're learning new things. So you're going to look at the world a little bit differently and just connect with yourself on a deeper level. Okay. So again, just covering these different emotions in the ladder is knowing, how you feel, being open and honest with the exact emotion, feeling safe to be vulnerable with someone who feels safe to you. You don't have to be vulnerable with everyone. But I really like the story of the strawberry, from the Indigenous water walk that my mom and I go to. And she shared, the strawberry, she carries her lineage and her seeds on the outside. So a strawberry is can be very vulnerable, right? Can bruise very easily when you pick up a strawberry, but her seeds are there. And so this is where I feel for us too, is that we can share our emotions, or we can be vulnerable when we have a core within ourselves of we know who we are, or nobody can mess with us, right? You can tell someone where to go if need be, or tell them no. No is a full sentence. You're practicing and learning how to express those deeper feelings, or saying, please don't talk to me in that manner, or I don't like that, or I would like more of this. Or I feel like we haven't connected in the last couple of weeks. Can we go for a walk? Or could we do a walk on a regular basis? Or could we meet once a month so that I feel like, we're still staying connected? Whatever it is that you're needing that feels good to you, so that your needs are being met. When your needs are being met, you feel safe and secure. You are going to be stronger. You're going to feel more motivated to do the things you want to do in life, and knowing that you have a support system. You may be alone or living alone, but you are not by yourself. Sorry. Yes, you are by yourself. I'm trying to think of the phrase that one of my beautiful students taught me, that you are not alone. You are by yourself with resources, right? You can call a friend. You can look on the internet, worst case, if you need some help with something, but you are never, ever totally alone. And if you are in a spiritual space, we have, our spiritual team, or you have someone that in a pinch that you would be able to call and connect to. And if you don't, then find community, find people who are just like you. Maybe it's a hobby of what you like to do, and you start to make friends in that community because you share a common thing that you're learning about, or a common growth mindset. Maybe it's in, I like German New Medicine. I love talking with German New Medicine people, or Tantra, or if you like to skateboard or play video games or something where you are connecting with people with a passion that's really important to you, because you build these really neat, deeper kind of relationships because it's something that actually lights you up as well. Okay. All right, so I think I'm going to park it here as far as the themes of consciousness. The more you can observe yourself and go within and be open and honest, even in vulnerable times, and ask for help, that's a big one for everybody, then you are raising your awareness. You're raising your levels of consciousness. And I feel we move up and down this emotional ladder, and it's okay to feel all the feelings, that we're not trying to escape any of these feelings or never feel shame or judgment, but to allow it. We're multidimensional beings, right? We are here having a human experience. And I would say you won the spirit lottery. You had a 1 in 400,000 chance of that sperm hitting the egg for you to be here. That you're here, there's a purpose for you being here. And one of my favorite phrases is that you are vital, right? We need you, the collective needs you on some level. And so it's just looking at, what do I have that people want, or what is it that I want to share with others, so that you can feel fulfilled and that life is worth living. I know that through my depression days and healing that, is I've been able to move towards a feeling of joy when I wake up instead of a feeling of dread. So if that's you, then pick something that is worth living for each day. Maybe it's a loved one, maybe it's the work that you do, or a certain hobby that you have, so that you have some joy and something to look forward to, because that is what's going to help to keep you moving forward and keep you lit up towards wanting to do better, wanting to grow, versus numbing. And I feel addictions are an inner child message to meet a need that maybe you don't know how to meet in other ways, but to look at it with curiosity and playfulness. Why do I do this thing? Instead of a heaviness of like, oh, I'm such a loser, or, I feel so sad that I keep going back to this thing. Well, it's serving you on some level. And so when you just look at why, what's the connection? What are you getting from it? More than likely it's time with yourself or connection or numbing or dissociation. It's something that feels good on some level, even if it's painful. And so just something to keep in mind, that I find anyone with depression, anxiety, addictions, a feeling of hopelessness or existential crisis, if you have community and purpose, then you will continue to move forward. You will continue to grow and not feel so heavy by what's been happening in your life or in the past. It's giving you some motivation to keep moving forward and to stay in touch with other people. I think that we are on a healing journey, everybody, and eventually we get to a place where we move to self-discovery of like, why do I have the thing? I've done so much work. Now I'm going to just look at it from a place of self-discovery, but that you're also, in the space of figuring out why are you doing that? What is the connection in your life overall? As you continue to grow and to learn and heal your own things that have happened, you move into a lighter space where eventually you actually want to help other people with the thing that you've gone through. So for myself, having gone through depression, now I can reach my hand back and say, hey, I've actually been through that. And where I laid in bed and I didn't want to be here. And these are the steps that I took, right? We can only hold one. This is probably the biggest thing I learned out of my depression days, was that you can only hold one thought at a time. I learned this from Mind Hack book, David Bayer, and it's either an empowering thought or a disempowering thought. But the cool thing is you get to choose. You get to choose which one you're going to hold on to, or how to move up to that next feeling or emotion. And that's what helped me to get out of bed and go, okay, I know I've had really amazing experiences. I want to learn how to get that back. And then it became almost like, a way of learning these tools and skills so that I could feel better in my life. But I made it like a fun, playful challenge in a way of like, how do I overcome or slay this dragon, right? Thinking of a level of a video game, so that you can move towards a life that feels really good and empowering, not all the time, but, a place where you feel like your life matters and that you're doing, good things in the world that are fulfilling for your soul. And as a collective, we do this together, right? We are moving towards a space or a time, or I would even say a humanity, where we can love each other and accept each other just for being alive and for being that person, not having to agree with or accept everything that everybody does, but being okay with being interdependent, right? Not codependent and not too independent, but in the middle where you're okay being by yourself and you're okay being with other people, right? Codependency is a really big thing to look at in your life, where, you are either anxious or avoidant, but where you are clingy or holding on to other people emotionally, and it can be unconscious. So just to be aware of that, so that you're moving into a place where you are empowered from within. You know who you are. You have that inner core and nothing can rock you. Even in the midst of chaos, chaos can be going on all around you, or someone could be fighting and arguing, but you've trained your body to not go into fight, freeze, or fawn in that situation. Because you've just got that core. The F word is another one. Those who use sex or substance as a coping method. Food is another coping method. And FOMO, those who are spending or, going out all the time because you have a hard time being at home with yourself or your emotions. It's just looking at what are your coping methods, being okay with it. You learned it somewhere. And then figuring out what feels better and slowly switching it to another one that feels good, so that you are soothing yourself and you're learning how to meet your own needs in a way that feels good and without consequences. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope that this brought you some value in how to move through the emotional ladder. And just thank you for being here and in the community. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them into the community chat, and just looking forward to connecting with you at a time. Thank you so much.